Hi and welcome to Poseidon Live. I'm Henny Ferreira, I'm the CEO of Poseidon. We're the world's first online digital accountant. And today on Poseidon Live, we're going to be discussing an interesting topic. We're going to be talking about how do you as an entrepreneur make your business investable and obtain funding. So today we've got a special guest on our show. So this special guest, Jonathan Zinman, is also one of our directors and one of our business partners. And Jonathan, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Hi everyone, thanks Henny. My name is Jonathan Zinman. I've got a wife, two wonderful daughters. From a work perspective, I studied a business science at UCT. I started my career at Standard Bank on their graduate program and then went into their mergers and acquisitions corporate finance division, where I spent quite a number of years. That was really my training, a wonderful training place. And then I went to Merrill Lynch and I worked in the South African office and the New York office. After a couple of years, I decided that I didn't want to be in corporate anymore. So I traveled the world for a year with one of my best friends and my wife, and came back and met my now partner, and we started a little private equity business. And that's where we are at the moment.
Yeah. So I think one of the main reasons why we got Jonathan involved today is he's being a little bit humble today, but he's an expert in investment, and we want to try and pick his brains a little bit today to understand more how investors think and how they view businesses and how the industry and everything operates. So is there really a lack of funding? Is there really a lack of funding? So I'm of the opinion, out of my experience, Jonathan, what I've come across that, as we sometimes work with our clients and help them also to obtain an investment, that there's actually quite a lot of capital and people that wants to invest and capital available, but there tends to be not a lot of investable businesses or fundable businesses available.
Henny, I think you're 100% right. Just talking about us, for example, we at the moment are very acquisitive. We've got a nice fund that we would love to invest, but I think in this economy, businesses are tough for two reasons. One, the business that's been running and now has run into a bit of hardship, so looking for investment and not looking for investment for the right reasons. Yeah. So they're looking just to actually survive. Yeah. And no one wants to invest in a business where it's just to survive. And the second reason is that a lot of people who've got an idea, maybe have started a business, they put valuation on their business that are totally crazy, and they actually have a complete lack of realistic ability of what their business can actually generate. And that's, I think, what's happening, because what's happening in the world, you hear these massive RPOs of these companies where they're completely overvalued.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. And I mean, one of the things, there's a lot of different role players in this, and I think in South Africa it's starting to catch a little bit more fire, but what are the different role players? I mean, the venture capitalists and the angel investment, what are the differences between these role players in the investment space?
Sure, I think from the start of your business, you've got an angel investor, and those guys are really, they're investing in an idea.
Yes.
They like the idea, and nothing's really happened in the business. And as the word says, an angel. Yes. So that's what the business would think of these guys. But it really is an angel who's coming in, and they're investing to put in not a big amount of capital, just to really get the business running. And that'll go rounds of funding. That'll be your first round of funding. Then you get venture capitalists. And I think, unfortunately, South Africa's venture capital market hasn't grown significantly yet. It's not as big as it is overseas, and that's where guys have a business, but they've started it already. It's not just an idea; it actually is a business, probably making losses at the moment. So they need the funding of that business to generate profit. But I think in the States, your venture capitalist guys, I wouldn't say it's a complete shotgun approach, but they're investing in 10 businesses, and they know that the majority of those probably will fail, but their hope is that 2 or 3 of them will really make it big. Yeah. And then you've got your private equity players, which is a very mature business that's actually probably doing nicely, got a profit, but looking for a next step.
Okay.
There is another player, probably an industry player, where a competitor of yours or someone in the industry which sees massive synergies will buy you out for a strategic play, as opposed to a pure investor.
Okay. All right, and the role of banks. I mean, what do they normally do in the space? Are there some investment banks and stuff? But I mean, are they actively involved in it? I mean, what is it?
Yeah, I think most investment banks in this country do have a private equity arm, so they definitely are investing in businesses. I think your smaller banks are probably getting more and more involved at the moment than they've ever done before. But the truth is, it's a bank. and they have to answer to shareholders. So the requirements are probably more stringent, but at the same time, if you do get a bank funding you, your line of funding will be massive, not from equity perspective, but just from a bank debtor's perspective.
Yeah, I think that brings us to the saying. I think a lot of people, as I heard it before, banks tend to lend money or invest money to people that don't really need it. I mean, they've got very stringent requirements, and I think that's why a lot of these businesses are reaching out to other role players 100%. In the thing. So, what makes a business investable? I think that's one of the things. We've already discussed the fact now that businesses need to be investable. There's a lot of capital going around, but what makes a business investable? How do we go about that? So I think the first thing is, and something that we've picked up with some of our clients is that, I mean, investment is not something that's a handout. It's not a charity thing. I mean, it's you are buying a stake in a company. You're selling a percentage of stake in your company, and it's not a lucky break. It's something that it requires a little bit of effort and effort that you need to put into your business.
Definitely, I think and that's from the business entrepreneur side. From the investor side, we want a return. Let's just be honest. It is a return game. You're not, like you said, it's not a charity case.
Yeah.
I'm investing because I think that investing in this business is going to bring me a greater profit than investing somewhere else.
Yes.
So that's what you want to do. But I think all the different players, they have their own mandates. So to say like how to make your business investable, different people will want different things.
Yes.
We can chat about that maybe a little bit later. But
yes. So another thing that that I've heard a lot, when you're talking to people and entrepreneurs and business owners about investment and investment things, I've got this idea. So is the idea really worth something? I mean, is an idea investable? Is more needed?
Like I say, I think in our country, I think that idea is very difficult to sell.
Yeah.
Maybe in the States, in more mature markets where they're looking for this big break, and you've got this massive market where you can invest into. Maybe the idea, if it's that good, people will jump at it. Here, I think that's very difficult. Here, I think South Africans in general, we're quite a tangible people.
Yeah.
We want to touch, we want to feel.
Yes.
So we actually want a business that's doing something already. We've seen a bit of research. We've seen you make the effort, and then people want to do it. So the idea is quite difficult.
Yeah. All right, and then scalability. Obviously, I think one of the important factors is if you invest in a business, as you said, you needed a return. So, I mean, scalability is key, isn't it? I mean, a business that can scale.
Definitely. I think as any investor, you're looking for a business that you can take from 1 to 1,000.
Yes.
And you're hoping that from 1 to 10 might be very difficult, but then from 10 to 1,000 actually a lot easier than from 1 to 10. That's what you're hoping for.
Okay. And then, a lot of things that we've come across, being in the compliance industry, we've got a lot of clients that we help with their compliance and with their accounting and with everything. And hopefully some of you that's watching at the moment is also some of our clients joining in. But one of the things is that if a business's compliance and stuff is not up to date, is that a deal killer? I mean, is it something that you can work around, or is it something that needs to be in place?
I mean, for us, we're probably a bit more flexible because we're smaller. The banks definitely, it's not even a question. It have to be 100%. But the truth is, if anyone comes to you with a proper nice set of accounts, they've got all their ducks in a row.
They've got an advantage.
You're much bigger advantage.
Exactly.
You also just unfortunately, the world we live in, people are trying to scam you. So, once you've got all that in place, it's a massive tick next to your name. Okay. Massive.
Cool. And then, another thing that...
Definitely not. I think, trademarks, IP, all that kind of stuff, obviously, patents, all those kind of important. But the truth of the matter is we live in such a global world that someone's probably thought of it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And if someone had to start it, what are you really going to do? The last thing any investor wants to do is get into a legal battle.
Yes.
So you just want to be the best at what you do.
So, I mean, investable businesses can definitely be businesses without any of those things. It's just a scalable, good business to invest in.
Without a doubt.
Exactly. Right. So then... an entrepreneur that's bootstrapped, and I think, I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. We've all gone through the bootstrap exercise and winging things as we go along, or hustling as people call it. Do they have a competitive advantage because of that track record that they've built with, gaining investment? Yeah,
I think from our side, we like to see that the entrepreneur's got a bit of skin in the game. So we want to see, it sounds horrible, but you want to see that he's actually, he's put in a lot of sweat and hard work into this business, and he's got to a point where it's looking good and he actually needs a big investment.
Yes.
Not yet, he hasn't done anything yet.
Exactly.
And now just give me the money and I can do it.
Exactly.
Actually, I read an article, funny enough, last night that Bill Gates said that he believes that any entrepreneur starting a business shouldn't take vacations and should work weekends. And then he goes on an article to say, maybe not everyone, maybe backtracks, but he definitely says that's what he did. And I just think, as an investor, you want to know that, well, you've got my money, so you better work hard now. Because I think too many people, unfortunately, get the investment and they go, oh, well, I can sit back now.
Yes, and to be honest, from our side as an entrepreneur, just thinking about that is, it should come natural. You would want to put that extra effort in. This is your thing that you're building up, so I think it's critical. What are the other factors that you would say that's very important when it comes to making a business investable? What other things do you think there are?
I think, like I say, different players definitely look at different things. From our side, we always say we invest in people more than businesses.
Yes.
So we want to know that, we want to see maybe a bit of a track record, maybe not in this business, but what have you done in your life? And just, you're not jumping ship, and you're not looking for a quick handout. I think that's a bit. I think from a small entrepreneur, it's different. But I was saying the different types of investments, private equity, that's a big business already. It's very different. But your entrepreneur, as an investor, you want to make sure that the entrepreneur is not looking to put money in his pocket and run away. You were looking to build something together. And in order to make that business investable, we want to see a bit of a track record and how a proper business plan of how you envision this business going forward. And it's not thumb sucking. You've actually done research into it and how you're going to build this business.
Exactly. Yes. And I think, one of the things, just something that's popping up in my mind now, it's not something that I've written down here, but I think, one of the things when you go the angel investor route or the VC route, venture capital route, or whatever the investor route, the returns for the investor seems to be high, but if you think about the risk of it, it's insane. What are the ratios and stuff with the risk?
Well, exactly. We always say when we invest in a company, we always say to the guys, please remember that we got involved in the beginning. Because often what happens, it's a hard place to be as an entrepreneur, because in the beginning you need investment.
Exactly.
So you almost do whatever, and so we try to always be, let's do it together. But I think often entrepreneurs end up resenting their first investor because they did a good deal, and now the business is massive. So if your valuation was X, in 5 years' time it might be 10X.
Exactly.
And then you almost resent. But I always say that's not the right way to do it. So we always like to incentivize our entrepreneurs quite heavily to say, if this was your plan, anything above the plan, we'll give you a nice incentive.
Yes. Okay, great.
But the risk is massive. That's the truth. I think the ratio.
And you've got to make up for it in your return somehow, because
Correct.
out of 10 businesses, what is the figures for VC and private equity guys?
It's different. VC, I would say probably lower than 15% making it.
Success. The rest fail. So that means their capital is gone.
Capital's gone, or definitely not making a return. So maybe getting the capital back. Private equity is definitely higher, because you've got a track record. So private equity is a different game, because you're looking to have that big jump, but there's a business to fall back on. Potentially. There are different sides, but that's that I would say is the difference between a VC and a private equity business.
Okay. Right. Another thing, I think, obviously, when an entrepreneur or a business person wants to gain investment into their company or get funding from a bank, it doesn't really matter. You need to communicate your business in some way. Some call it an investment deck, or some call it a business plan, or an investment proposal, or whatever. What are the important factors when somebody comes to you with a business proposal or a business plan?
I'd say I don't want to see a 300-page document. I want a concise presentation that tells me what your business is, maybe competitors, a bit of a SWOT analysis, and then a bit of a track record. And to be honest, any investor, they can to try to say it different ways, but at the end of the line, they want to see numbers. So you really need to have a very big hold of your numbers. And if you don't, then you're going to fall flat straight away.
Okay. And then, one of the things that has happened, there's a lot of these crowdfunding platforms and stuff popping up everywhere. One of the things that I've noticed on these is the amount of video, and they've got these graphics as part of their proposal and thing. Is it really that important to spend a lot of time and money on that, or is it just back to basics?
I think you mentioned the word crowdfunding. So I think if you're looking for crowdfunding, then you probably have to.
Popularity.
Exactly. Then you've got to have to do a big video because the people don't know you.
Exactly.
So it is what it is, crowdfunding. But I would say for investors, I don't think you need to spend that much amount of money, especially on video and those kind of things. If your business has that sort of play, then you need to bring it in. But I wouldn't go spend it in inordinate amount of money on something that might not work.
Okay, all right. And then another thing that I would like to ask is, you know, a lot of the services that pop up, and this is, you know, for everybody listening out there, I mean, we provide a lot of services to clients, but one of the things that we don't do is we don't develop the business plans for an entrepreneur or on behalf of an entrepreneur. I mean, how important is it that that business plan must come from the entrepreneur? I mean, that this is their thing, it's their baby, it's their thing that they're compiling at the end of the day.
I mean, they must compile it. There's no doubt about it. Having said that, going to someone who understands what the necessities are is probably a good thing if you have no idea.
Yes.
But definitely don't hand it over to someone.
Yes.
You have to have the final say, because in that investor meeting, the investor's going to quiz you. You're not
Yeah.
going to quiz the person who wrote it.
Yeah.
So unless you know absolutely that investment deck or proposal, whatever you want to call it, you have to know it backwards.
Okay, so that's a great piece of advice there, I think, from Jonathan. I mean, what we do, you know, from a side and side is we do have clients that compile the business plan, and then we go over the numbers to make sure that it makes accounting sense and it's the correct format. But we can't compile the business plan on your behalf. So, guys, if you're out there, don't push it away. I mean, that's most probably, it's the only way that you can communicate this to the investors. So I think the next question is, all right, so I've got an investable business, I've got my business plan on my investment deck. I mean, where do you find funding? I mean, one of the things that we've also, there's the Investment Network of South Africa, and there's a whole bunch of VCs and private equity guys getting together and bundling together. With all these technology and cloud, I mean, just by Googling get investment into my business, I'm sure that you'll get an entire list of it. But with all these platforms, I mean, good old-fashioned networking and mouth to mouth, I mean, is that still a thing? I mean, how would you say? How do people find these investors?
Again, I think it is taking off. I mean, there is no doubt that in the age of technology, it's definitely taking off.
Yeah.
In South Africa, probably less so, but there's no doubt, you know, we've actually joined a little investment network, like you say. But for us, it's definitely more word of mouth at the moment. I think that is I think that just people take more comfort if, I heard about you because I heard about you from this person that I know. But I think in time it will get like that. I think there are more and more people out there sitting on cash, like we said earlier. There is funding available, and it's not so easy anymore to find a good investment. So people are trying to find these ways on how to invest, and if they have no idea,
Exactly.
well, then if you're the investor now, but you don't have an investable business, investing business, then those networks are great. So I think in time it will get better. At the moment, again in South Africa, I think we're always a bit behind the curve.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll get there in time.
All right. I think one of the things that we've also done with the Siren is we've developed an investment guide for entrepreneurs, talking about the same thing, how to get your business investable, helping you with a template for your business plan so that you can get that going. And then we introduce them a lot to these investment networks. But I think a good starting point is talk to your accountant. I mean, accountants deal with multiple clients, and they might know somebody and they can introduce you or maybe you know, get you going with that as well. Another thing is, what are the trends in the industry? What are the trends in the investment industry? So the first thing, Silicon Valley. I mean, everybody knows about Silicon Valley. It's Facebook and it's Google and it's all these big tech companies. How do you think Silicon Valley has influenced the way that people think and talk about investment?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier that unfortunately people have ridiculous valuations on their business from an idea. And you know, you mentioned Facebook, Google, Amazon, but these are 1 in a million companies, and that's what people don't realize. And you know, please hope every entrepreneur out there, please God, your business gets as big as those businesses. But it's difficult. It's not easy. So I think, unfortunately, what it's done, it's overinflated what business is actually worth.
Okay. All right, and then another thing, I mean, shows like Shark Tank and Dragon's Den and all these television shows, I mean, how realistic are these things really? I mean, does it also sometimes create the wrong impression for entrepreneurs?
Yes and no. I mean, I guess, listen, if you can get onto it and you get something great. But and it depends which show you're watching and who. You know, some of those shows I've watched some of them, and some of the questions the sharks or dragons, what they ask is impressive. They drill you down, and those are great.
Yes.
It's a great way to understand that you have to know everything about your business. There's no wishy-washy. As soon as you become wishy-washy, the investor already has turned his black eye. But like you said, it's a bit unrealistic. That's not the way it all works.
Okay, and then I mean, investment, the volume of investments that, with all the technology and everything happening, is it taking off? I mean, is it slowing down? Is there a lot of these investors, investment deals being doing? I mean, what is the quantity or the volume of business or investment deals that's being done?
Yeah, I think deals are being done, definitely. And like we said before, finding the right deal is difficult. I think what's happened, because we live in such an information age and everything is the world's tiny, that anyone who's got a bit of spare cash can become an investor. It's not, I say, 30 years ago, unless you had a company
who market
completely. So there's definitely money out there. It's finding the right business.
Okay. I think one of the other things is, the banks. One of the banks that we work with, Sasfin, one of our partners, is that they've also been investing and acquiring some things. And we've said previously, they've got a higher criteria. But do you foresee maybe the banks changing their approach a little bit towards private equity and small investment deals, or do you think they're going to stick pretty much with what they know and do best?
I think there might be divisions of a bank, and they might, have a bit of a they'll loosen the knot, and they'll be able to invest. Banks in general not. I think you don't want a bank being too risky. Of course, economies are built on banks, so you definitely don't want that.
Very important.
Exactly, but I think maybe divisions of banks. It'll almost be like under a separate type entity, and they'll be given a certain amount of money and go do something. Okay. And I think a lot of the banks are realizing that in order to get higher returns, you might need to do that.
All right. And other trends that you've noticed, I mean, where do you think is this investment space going? I mean, what are the things that you think will be happening that we'll be seeing?
Yeah, I think technology is definitely one. How technology incorporates into business. So, there's a lot of old businesses out there that I think can be redirected into a technology age. And I think that's where most things will go.
All right. Interesting. So then in our economy, and obviously I think this is a hot topic point. I mean, we just had elections and everything, and I mean, it's Cyril Ramaphosa now, President Ramaphosa, putting his plans together, and everybody is waiting to see what's going to happen. How critical is it getting entrepreneurs to start building investable businesses and getting investors and entrepreneurs together for our economy?
I think it's incredibly important. Unemployment rate's huge.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be putting more into entrepreneurs. What's difficult is that we have a complete imbalance of what an entrepreneur thinks and what is actually investable. So you do have to marry those two, which I think is difficult. But there needs to be that if entrepreneurs are working, and especially if they're employing people, I think employment is massive. So there needs to be some sort of tax breaks or government incentives that if you're starting a business and you do X and you're employing Y, there's got to be incentives. What those incentives are, I'm not sure, but there has to be. That's the only way to grow this economy.
One of the things that that there's a big hype nowadays about SMMEs and small businesses and even micro businesses. And I said it the other day when 2 days ago when I was at the National Press Club as well. I don't think it's only SMMEs. I think the ideal is to get a small business to become big. I mean, it's not only about small businesses. What we want is we want to scale businesses and we want them to grow, to really create significant jobs at the end of the day. And I mean, that's the idea. I mean, there's almost this mindset nowadays, but SMME is so good, but stay there. It's become this ridiculous thing. I mean,
I agree. I think the truth is every business wants to go from 1 to 1,000, like we were saying earlier, and it would be amazing to grow your business. But at the same time, you must realize that there is a market for your SMME.
Yes.
And I think that if you're a business that you're making good money and the risk is too great to try and scale, don't do it. Don't do it yet. Have a proper base. Sometimes companies do definitely grow too fast. And I think to stay in that SMME space for a while is not a bad thing.
Okay. Yeah, that's good advice. How can government sometimes encourage this investment in entrepreneurs? I mean, tax breaks, things. What do you think can government do more? I mean, a tip for the new government.
I guess we mentioned it earlier, and I think they are trying. There's definitely they are putting incentives in place.
Yes.
Obviously, as an investor, you want it to be on the business side, definitely. And it's just, I think it needs to be more clear on what the business needs to do in order to get that. Yeah. And obviously in this country, you just want to make sure that nothing's corrupt. You want it to all be very down the line, and you understand that you have to hit certain benchmarks, and when you hit that benchmark, then you get the incentive.
Yes, great. Right, so then let's say that they have successfully gained an investment. I mean, for the businesses out there, many of our clients, and as I said, we try and help our clients as well, to try and obtain investments. We introduce them to investors sometimes, if it's an investable business. Not all of our clients, we really go and look before we introduce. But I mean, once a business has obtained an investment, what would your tip be for them now? So they've got the investment, and now they need to build it. So what now? What is the tips that you can give for a business like that?
So, for us, the entrepreneur, just be truthful. And it sounds crazy, but we always say be very conservative in your business plan. Because as an investor, if you're meeting your business plan, your projections, it's such an easy conversation. Every monthly board meeting, it's simple. But the second you're not, it's very difficult. It's an old thing, but if I say to you, I'm going to give you 100 Rand, and I give you 99 Rand, you're upset. If I told you I'd give you 90 Rand, and I give you 99, you're the happiest person.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, in terms of tips, as an entrepreneur, obviously you want the investments. You do want to. It's a balance, because you want to inflate your price to get the best valuation. But at the same time, I think if you really believe in your business longevity and you have good partners who will incentivize you if you beat your projections, then rather be conservative. That would be my advice.
I think one of the things that I can just add on there as well, I think that's one of the most important thing is, remember guys, when you get investment into your business, you are bringing a partner into your business, and having the wrong partners is one of the most devastating business mistakes that you can make. Jonathan, thank you so much for your time and having a chat with us and letting us pick your brain a little bit to understand more about the investment. I think it was great, and guys, thank you for coming in on the Side and Live. Remember, in 2 weeks' time we will have a broadcast again. Let's just have a look at quickly at our live feeds here. Just want to see if there's any questions popping up. If not, how this works for you guys, as I said earlier, so you can leave your comments afterwards as well. Live video, we will addressing it, but afterwards I personally respond to them as well. I'll get Jonathan's input on it as well. So I think it's important for us to address these questions. And then most importantly, our next topic that we'll be discussing in 2 weeks' time, leave your comments on the issues and the things that you feel that you want us to talk about. This is what A Side and Live is all about. We want to add value to the entrepreneur out there and help them to build a better business. This is what it's free, you can watch it forever, but leave the comments. What are the things that you feel that we need to discuss on A Side and Live? And as today we got Jonathan here, which is an expert in investments. So if there's questions that we feel is too complicated, we can't answer, we'll bring in the heavyweights that has all the right answers, and you can ask them some questions as well. So I just want to have a quick look here, sorry, to see how the things are going here. This technology just reloading here a little bit.
I think just while Henny's looking at that stuff, I just think from our point of view, from an investor, if you're out there, an entrepreneur, get your business out there. Word of mouth is massive, but unfortunately, you have to put in the hard yards in the beginning and make sure you know what your business is doing before you go to that investor, before you have that first meeting. It's very important. Friends and family are the best people to bounce ideas off. They'll be honest with you. They'll tell you that you're onto something, or if you're completely off the wall. Yeah.
All right. So I see there was a bit of an interruption on the video, and most people are now watching on YouTube. Sorry about that. So I think what will happen is, guys, this video will be reposted onto our Facebook page, just so you can watch the entire thing without a problem. It will also be available on our website, so you can watch it there. So what you can then do is, the moment that we repost it, post your questions there. I'll be responding to it, and we'll be addressing those concerns. But thanks a lot. Remember, in 2 weeks' time, Thursday, 12 o'clock, we'll be doing the next Side and Live, and we'll be communicating what the topic is going to be about based on the comments and the feedback that we're getting for users. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I hope that you've learned a lot. Thanks.
Thank you.